there's a measure of difficulty. It's going to be extremely challenging, yet I think it's achievable. Humans are very vulnerable on the moon. They're vulnerable to solar winds and solar radiation. And one of the things that's going to have to happen is to build a protective structure, as well as harnessing solar energy and finding water, which we think exists in ice form deep in these craters on the moon. So all of these things have to come together to make a viable space station.
And how long would it take to get to the moon?
To get to the technological stage where we're able to actually inhabit the moon for long stretches, I think it's really hard to project. I think they know, they admit in the prospectus that SpaceX released that it's going to rely on technologies that don't yet exist. Ideally, in a fantasy world, in that kind of sci-fi future, we send robots there to build a lot of the infrastructure so that it's then safe for humans to move in and begin to take up the rest of the charge.
Are data centers in space an easier thing to imagine? I mean, I think about it, It's like the International Space Station in a sense, right?
Yes, data centers in space are easier to imagine. There's a real sense that we could do that sooner and faster. Ironically, one of the problems is that they don't cool off. So right now the data centers on Earth boil lakes. Right? It's not something we like as the climate impact, the negativity of that. In space, they will obviously not be having that kind of ramification on the biosphere, but it's hard to cool in a vacuum of space.
Data centers have huge cooling systems on Earth to cool them down.
Right.
Why couldn't you put those on in space?
Well, it's more expensive. It's more stuff to go up there. It's more stuff to break.
To me, Mars seems the biggest lift in the sense it just feels like, and I say this with my enormous expertise is based on the movie The Martian.
Which is pretty good.
It seems very hard to live there.
Yes.
You have to be in an astronaut uniform all the time, in a suit all the time. You have to grow stuff in massive, self-contained, hermetically sealed tents. It takes months, maybe years to get there.
Months,
So
years, it could be.
So it just seems to me like there have to be some big upside to doing it.
Yes. Why? Why are we going to Mars? Part of it is just blind ambition, just the human compulsion to travel, to explore. It's not going to be an alternative to Earth. Sometimes it's sold that way in this, but that's kind of comic book. Here we have this amazing, wonderful planet, and it has a great magnetic field and a wonderful atmosphere, and it has oceans, and it's teeming with life, and as far as we know, it's the only example of life in our solar system. We might go to Mars and find microbes. And yet, we think we're going to terraform an entire planet when we can't quite cap the human impact that we've had on our own biosphere here.
Now, the last time we set ourselves a great deadline was Kennedy saying we were going to get to the moon. The difference, it seems to me, is then it was a government project. It was a kind of collective American project. Everything I've just described is essentially going to be done by SpaceX or another private company. What are the implications of that?
I don't think we can completely unpack them yet. I think there's some of that that's exciting because we know that individual industry can be very ambitious in a way that a government cannot. NASA can never tolerate the kind of failures that, for instance, SpaceX is comfortable with. Things blow up in the launch pad, they just go back. They're not beholden to the taxpayer. They're not restricted by being overly cautious. What's terrifying is where does science fit into this, and where does the sense of space as a commons fit into this? And that, I think, can be quite alarming. It's also, will financial incentive completely overpower all the kind of dreaming that human beings have done just to devise ways of going to space? Everything that spacefaring technologies rely on were all the dreamers. Back to Kepler, back to Galileo. They were simply finding orbits, understanding celestial mechanics, looking at the celestial bodies, thinking about quantum mechanics in the later years. Where's all that going to go? Is it only going to be money?
And is it now going to be CEOs looking at quarterly returns, given that this is now going to be a public company? Right.
Or will there be an attempt to say, we're going to redirect some of this to exploration, to science, theoretical, experimental, observational science, just for science's sake? People used to talk about the usefulness of useless knowledge. And if you don't have that, you never have the technology to even think about going to Mars.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fareed.